In this tutorial, you'll be learning how to create this sub-navigation menu using HTML and CSS. So as you can see, it just looks like a normal basic navigation bar, but when you hover over one of these drop-down icons, it opens up just a simple horizontal sub-navigation menu here. Now the reason why I'd want to use this is because, generally speaking, there's two different types of top navigation bars. The one that's quite trendy at the moment is found on a lot of these professional websites. It's called a mega menu. So obviously they've just got a normal navigation bar here, but then one of them is just a huge sort of drop down menu with all these icons. Now this is obviously good, but it can be, maybe it's a bit overwhelming because there's a lot of information to process here. So it's not really copacetic, I would say. And then here's the second type, which is just like a sort of a simple drop down navbar, I guess you could say. They hover over each one and then it sort of shows this drop down here with just vertical a list. And this is fine obviously, but again, like, it's not really necessary if you're just going to have a couple items to have it display this much space. And sometimes, obviously, there's another one which comes out to the side like this, but I just think that this is a good blend between the two. So that's the reason why I'm going to be showing you how to create it in this tutorial. Okay, so currently we've just got a blank page here with two links, home and contact. So just a HTML boilerplate, and then we've got a class, navbar, and inside we've got two link tags which say home and contact. They've got a href with hashtag prefix, so it doesn't actually link to anywhere. We haven't done any styling yet because that's the purpose of this tutorial. So we'll say we'll link to style.css. Create that now. And the first things that we're going to do is we're going to remove the body's default margin and padding, which our browser automatically adds unless we specify otherwise. And then font family, we're going to import a font that I like to use called OpenSand, which can be found on Google Fonts. So they've got a content delivery network which we can just import into a project very easily. So we put it in the head. And then copy the font family attribute and value. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to style the navbar. So we'll do that now. We want it to have background colour of a sort of greenish colour, so I've already found one earlier on, but you can obviously choose any colour that you want. And then what we'll do now is we'll style all of the A tags inside of the navbar using hierarchical selector. And we could do a display inline to display them horizontally, because obviously it's a horizontal navbar. But the problem with that is display inline adds extra padding between the elements, which we don't want. So instead we'll use float left, which will display all the block elements horizontally, just without the extra padding which comes with the inline display. And we'll say font size 16 pixels, colour white to contrast with the green background. Text align center because I'm about to add some padding. Also 14 pixels on the top, 16 pixels on the right, and text decoration none to remove the underline which comes with the link element. And now if you refresh the page, we should see, yeah. The problem with this is the green background isn't showing. The reason being is because this navbar contains link tags which are set to float left. Float left takes these links out of the HTML document flow, which means that the navbar now has the height collapses in on itself. So this background colour won't be shown because it currently has a height set to 0. To prevent this, we use overflow hidden, which prevents the navbar from collapsing in on itself due to the float left of its children. So now its height will now be visible, so we can see the background colour. What we need to do now is we need to include the sub-nav. So currently these are just links on its own. It doesn't have an expandable drop down. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert one of those expandable drop downs in between the home and contact links. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a div. We're going to call it sub-nav. Then inside of this we want something to for the user to click on, which will expand the sub-navigation menu. So we'll do that as a button. We'll call it about, and then we want an arrow to the right of the about text, just to give a visual indicator to the user that they can click on it to see the drop-down menu. So what we need to do is, we could use font awesome icons, but we're literally just going to copy this Unicode value here. It's called black down pointing triangle. Let's copy it in HTML like so. And what we're going to do is we're going to give the button a class of sub-nav btn so we can style it. Below this we need to create the sub-navigation content, which will be visible when the user hovers over the button. So we'll create a div below the button but still inside the sub-nav div. We'll give it a class sub-nav content, will be its name. Inside we need to give specify the links. So we'll say href will be hashtag won't lead to anywhere. This first one, just as an example, company. And then team, career. Obviously these are just placeholders, they don't mean anything. Okay, now that we've created that, as you can see, it won't look good obviously because there's no styling. Yes, there's a lot wrong with this currently. So we need to go back to styling. Okay, and the first thing that we need to do is we need to make the sub-nav class match the styling or the positioning of these tag elements. So what we need to do is we need to do sub-nav float left, just like the A tags, inside the navbar, and also overflow hidden. And now what we need to do is we need to style the button. So we'll say we'll use a hierarchical selector to do that, sub-nav btn. Font size, again we'll set 16 pixels because the A tags are 16 pixels because we want it to be matching. Border none because buttons come with a default border, but we don't want it to look like a button, we just want it to look like an A tag. So outline none as well. Color white, margin 0 to remove the default margin that comes with buttons. Padding again, same as the A tags, 14, 16. And then we'll say background color inherit, font family inherit as well, to remove the default font family and background color that comes with the buttons and give it the same values as its parent. So now if you refresh the page, about will look like these tags here. So the problem is with the sub-nav context here, they're not positioned properly and they shouldn't be visible unless we're hovering over the button or the sub-nav content itself. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to fix the positioning first. So we'll say sub-nav content. Actually no, first of all we need to actually see what changes we made, so we won't do that. We'll say position absolute, so we can position it to to the left. You'll see in a second. Background colour, we'll give it a different colour to contrast with the main navigation bar. So we'll say 1B 5E 20. Width 100% the document. Z index 1, so it will be displayed above everything else. If you refresh the page, as you can see, it's 100% of the document. The problem is, it begins at about, which is where the button begins, and then it adds this horizontal bar because it's 100% of the width of the document, but because it's been shifted towards the right, so it's not the actual, so it doesn't fit completely with the unscrollable width of the document. So what we need to do is, with absolute positioning we can say left, which matches its left edge to the left of its parent, basically. Yeah, so it moves it to the left now. And now it is exactly 100% the width of the document. So what we need to do now is, obviously, this shouldn't be visible all the time unless we're hovering over the relevant element. So what we do is display none, and now it should be invisible, but we want it to be displayed when we hover over the specified element. So what we're going to do is, we're going to say sub-nav hover, show the sub-nav content, so display block. So when they hover over the sub-nav hover element, the sub-nav content element will have a display of block now. So yes, as you can see, we're hovering over the button now and this is visible. Alright, next thing that we want to do is we want to change the background colour of the sub-navigation content when we're hovering over the selected content. So we'll say sub-nav content a tag, give it a pseudo element of hover. Background colour will be something which I've already chosen previously, so we'll say E8, F5, E9, sort of like greyish green colour. The colour of the text with black to contrast to the background. So if you refresh now, as you can see, the sub-navigation background and also text font colour is changing when we hover over it. The last thing that we want to do is we want to change the background colour of the normal navigation when we hover over it. So what we need to do navbar, and then the greater than sign, and then comma, sub-nav, btn, hover. The reason why we do this, okay, so basically, this selects the A tags which are the direct child of the navbar, so not the A tags inside of the sub-content, so inside of the sub-nav. Just the A tags that are at the navbar, which are currently home and contact. When we hover over those, this styling will be applied, and also sub-nav btn hover will be just the buttons. So it will be these three things at the top here. Forget about the sub-nav content. It would just be the main content that we're currently selecting, and then we'll give it a dark green colour. So hashtag 1B because it's hex code, 1B5E20. Refresh, and yeah, it matches obviously the sub-nav colour, and this is what we're getting. This is the end result. If we want to add in another sub-nav button or section, what we do is we copy this entire sub-nav divider and just post it adjacent to the other sub-nav divider, and we're going to give this one, I don't know, what does it say next? First, second, third. Save, refresh. Yep, and here it is here. And yeah, this is how you do it. So if you have any questions, then post your questions in the comments box below, or if you want me to explain something more clearer, then again post it in the comments box below. I'll respond to any of your requests. And if you enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe. You would do me a massive favour, and you'd also show your appreciation for the help that I gave you in this video. And yeah, peace out. I hope you enjoyed the video.